Welcome back.
Hello. Welcome back to the Rate Frame podcast.
Woo! Woo! Rate frame. Today we're going to be rating frames. Love photography here. Imagine.
Frame.
Oh, that frame.
Only see the bottom of it.
My rating? 2.
I was going to give it a 3. It's got that cool white border.
Is that part of the frame?
No.
That's
right,
my
yeah.
2.
Yeah. Fair enough. Welcome back, everyone. It's your boys, Tristan and Trevor. Nothing new has come out since last week, which is crazy because the last 2 months we've had something new.
It's been like
every
nonstop.
week.
It's been a little overwhelming,
Yeah.
at least for content purposes.
Yeah. I definitely have felt like I've missed so much.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Like,
a lot been happening.
I was going to try my hardest with this to stay on top of things so I can be breaking news. Lost it.
There's too much news.
No,
and
there's
not enough time.
So much stuff. Hey, actually, you did want to talk about something. The film festival. That's some news that we haven't talked about. That's
The
important.
Sundance Film
Yeah.
Festival? That's like weeks old news, dude.
But it just popped in my head.
Okay, well, breaking news. The Sundance Film Festival is officially moving to Boulder, Colorado.
So is it going to be called the Boulder Film Festival? Or
Well, it used to be just called I think the United States Film Festival.
Oh, really?
And then it changed when Robert Redford picked Sundance as where he wanted it to be.
Okay.
I don't know what it's going to change.
Okay,
to,
I don't know much
but
about that.
Has one more year in Park City, Utah, and then it's moving. So I want to try and go for its last year, which is going to be really difficult, but
yeah,
going to try.
Yeah, there's going to be
Everyone wants to, pay homage.
Be a part of it. Yeah. But there's a good chance if we can make it, there's a good chance that we could see some.
Get us to the Sundance Film Festival 2026.
GoFundMe.
Yeah, we'll start one. Get us to the Sundance Film Festival 2026.
But no, there's been no news. It's been a dead week. So I brought up the idea of just taking an old movie that I feel deserved a little bit of recognition. I picked The Goonies. Trevor did not like that idea.
I didn't say I didn't like it.
He said specifically, I hate The Goonies.
I don't hate The Goonies. I love The Goonies. My mother would commit murder on me with a weapon if I told her I didn't like The Goonies.
How else would she commit murder?
With a non-weapon.
Okay, fair enough. That's the same with my dad. I would probably
Give me
say
the look,
my dad's favorite movie. My dad's favorite movie of all time switches a lot. So Dad, if you're listening to this, just know, trying my hardest here, switches a lot, but most of the time, almost every single time we ask him, he gives you a bunch of options, but then you're like, well, what about The Goonies? And then he goes, oh yeah, that's probably my favorite movie. And I mean, it shows. We've bought it probably in my lifetime, we've bought the movie 4 times.
Why?
Well, originally we had The Goonies. Do you remember how old DVD cases used to look, where they had the cardboard cover and then that little plastic flap that would clip it in? We used to have The Goonies in that, and then that kind of just disintegrated and the movie disappeared. I'm sure my parents probably still have it somewhere, but they don't. So we bought a new version, which I am in possession of. It's in my box of DVD cases down there.
Off screen.
Yeah, it's right. But
Superimpose Goonies DVD cover art.
It's actually right here. No. But then we've bought it a couple times online.
Okay.
And I haven't showed Grace that. That was also kind of a reason.
The movie?
Yeah.
Goonies?
And my dad has gotten really mad at me.
So Grace hasn't seen The Goonies.
No.
Mom, if you're hearing this, your niece, don't murder her with a weapon. Okay?
Non-weapons.
She just had a baby.
Give her a couple months.
I don't know. Maybe the baby needs a story.
Yeesh.
My great aunt murdered my mother because she didn't like her favorite movie.
With a weapon. How else? Oh.
That's just what the eulogy says.
With a weapon.
That's what it says in the police report. Everything just says with a weapon. I will never get closure.
So eventually we will do the Goonies because I have to show my wife that, or else I'll probably get disowned as a son.
And my mom might murder you with a weapon.
Yeah, well, I might get disowned on both sides of the family, let's be honest. But so in our search for an old-timey movie,
Old-timey?
an older movie that deserves a little bit more recognition, Trevor suggested that we watch Tron Legacy. And that was quite a trip for me because I think that the last time I watched Tron was probably when it came out.
2010?
Yeah. I mean, I loved
Christmas
it.
time, 2010.
I loved it, but I probably haven't seen it since then. I mean,
Wow.
I've listened to a bunch of songs from it. I've
Mhm.
seen it on the TikTok videos.
Oh, yeah.
Watched half the movie that way.
Those definitely influenced my suggestion. It's all I've been seeing.
The background music that they've got to play so it doesn't get
Uh-huh.
copyright. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of crazy that you haven't seen that movie in 15 years. I did not know that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I loved that movie.
I mean,
as a kid.
I loved it. I loved it when it first came out. It's always been like a top tier movie for me because it's left that kind of impression. But I just haven't watched it.
I think Tron Legacy was one of the first Blu-ray movies my family ever owned.
That sounds about right. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that came out like right as soon as Blu-ray hit the scene.
Yeah, about the same time.
Yeah.
And
What?
my family got that real quick.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Blu-ray. Was that a real thing?
Yeah, I had a DVD player that said Blu-ray on it.
Yeah, but like,
I think it just not to sound all like techie, but like DVDs went from like standard definition to, since movies and like camera technology progressed to where you could have high definition stuff in the theater when it was being projected, it wasn't able to translate the same onto. That's why they like lots of times when you like would put in like a newer movie into your DVD player, you could select whether you watched the HD or the SD version.
Yeah,
of
well, I
the
remember
film.
they used to come in like, most movies used to come in like twos, right? You'd
Yeah.
have like the Blu-ray and
Yeah.
then the standard.
Yeah. And so the Blu-ray player was just like, this is an HD DVD player, and you can start. But they marketed it,
As
and
Blu-ray, yeah.
mm-hmm.
I guess that makes sense. All I remember about Blu-ray is that it was the hype and the CDs were blue. Thought that was cool. I was like, oh,
everything was blue. DVD case was
how
blue.
about this? It's blue.
Why are you blue?
Why are you blue? But so we decided to watch Tron. And initial thoughts, seeing it for the first time in 15 years, that movie has aged like the finest of fine high dining wine. Like, very good. Very, very good movie. Like, very good. Have I ever talked about we'll get to it. My preference over practical effects versus full CGI?
I think we have talked about that.
This is
but
the movie I'm going to use from now on as like my example. Because a lot of it's CGI, but like everything like in personal shots, it's all just practical, which I love a lot. And this is one of those where I was like, huh,
yeah. Yeah, when I revisited, I hadn't seen the movie in a long time. But I still remember a ton of it because I grew up on it. I was Tron for Halloween once. Best Halloween costume I've ever had. Shout out to my dad for the idea of putting reflective tape in the shape of of those bodysuits along a black sweatsuit. So at nighttime, while I'm trick or treating and cars are driving by, it looks like I'm glowing. Genius.
Genius.
Pops.
It's actually really remarkable what the magic that parents do when they're making costumes.
Yeah. Speaking of costumes in Tron, shout out to the costume designer, because
Yeah.
like obviously a lot of this, like the challenge for the people making this movie was how to connect it to the first one the best they could. But because of how, like, the first Tron movie is one of the first ever have computer generated
Yeah.
anything. And it's not like CGI really. It was like math that they
Yeah.
put into the computer, and they just
Well,
kind
you
of
can-
do with it.
You can see it like the really vibrant, like
Oh, yeah.
Technicolor colors.
A lot of the things they had to do. I could go on. I know a lot about how the VFX process went, but we were talking about Tron Legacy, not Tron. But trying to connect it like that, you don't need it to be so like, the color grading it's like super dark, but everyone's wearing is like really bright. Movie gives me a headache sometimes, but making it look the way it did,
Yeah.
like motorcycle bodysuit with actual glowing strips in it
Mm-hmm.
that they had to charge every 12 minutes because that's as long as it could last.
Yeah.
So patience was
Well, and I thought it was really remarkable because, like, most of the time when that kind of stuff shows up, like, the character usually ends up wearing a big suit to conceal the electronics and stuff that's going on underneath. There was like none of that here. I think in regards to like costume design, my favorite piece every time it was on screen, like my eyes immediately went to it. What's the dad's name?
Kevin?
Kevin Flynn's robe. that
The
he
white
has.
one or the
No,
black
the
one?
black one that's got like the lights in the insides of the sleeves and like on the insides of the
Oh, like his cloak, like when he
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like every time that he came on scene and like you could see like the light, like, I don't know, coming out of the cloak. I thought that was awesome. And my eyes were like right to it. So
Yeah.
props.
Yeah, this movie truly, like, they found a way to revive the probably pretty small fan base that the original Tron had, and just totally
Explode
Yeah.
with that.
like quadrupled the fan base,
Yeah.
if not way more than that,
Yeah.
because this movie is now definitely a cult classic
Mm-hmm.
because it didn't get a lot of love
No.
when it was made. I think it lost money.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't like it.
Yeah, because it wasn't it to them.
Well, I
it
mean,
didn't feel like Tron.
I think what you also got to think of, like what I was thinking of as I was watching it, what time it came out, right? Because during the time that it came out, like we had just started the Marvel phase, right? We just
Mhm.
started the Marvel phase. Avatar had just come out. I'm pretty sure.
The year before, yeah.
Yeah. And then like I think we were finishing up like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure that World's End was right around there.
Yeah.
Right? So like where movies weren't like they weren't in science fiction yet. Right? Like Marvel had started picking up the science fiction genre, but I think the last like big movies that we had at that time that were science fiction that like succeeded really well, correct me if I'm wrong, were Star Wars. Right? Like the prequels. Because I'm pretty sure Revenge of the Sith came out in
05.
Yeah, right. So like that sci-fi stuff kind of died, and then fantasy, right? Like Pirates of the Caribbean isn't necessarily like high fantasy, like what you would, but it is
Yeah.
way more like fantasy grounded
Oh,
than
mythological.
yeah, right. So my point was I noticed like when I was watching it that the reason why I enjoyed it so much more now is because like where movies have shifted and like their sole focus is sci-fi now, right? Like
Mhm.
the sci-fi genre has like taken over like the fantasy not fantasy, fictional genre of movies.
You could probably thank Marvel for that.
Yeah, I would say Marvel is for sure.
Yeah, and I think the progression of VFX has really helped with that, because the coolest VFX, the ones that people talk about long after the fact, are the science fiction stuff. Hence
Mhm.
why, even though people didn't like Tron Legacy very much at the time, everyone still was like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
that looked so cool.
Yeah, I remember turning to Grace and I went, this movie really was years like before its time, like beyond its time.
Yeah,
Is that the right phrase?
ahead of its time.
Ahead of its time. Years ahead of its time. Where, like, had this movie come out 2018, would have been like huge.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the talk.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to talk too much about the VFX, because everyone talks about the VFX and there's already so many opinions on it. But like, props to Digital Domain, the VFX house that did the VFX for this
Yeah.
movie. They really killed it. Like the $170 million budget for Tron Legacy, like half of that, if not more than half of it, definitely went to making the VFX look
Which is really
the way they did.
Which is really unbelievable that they did so well with so little money.
I know.
Right? Because movies nowadays where their CGI is terrible spend far more money
Yeah.
on that.
Well, I think they spend far more money on the actors.
That's probably true. But I loved the lighting. Oh, like we talked about this when we talked about what makes a movie good, or your favorite movie. My point is, like, we talked about how, like, Tristan is a big sucker for lighting, right? And I really, like, thoroughly enjoyed the lighting in this movie. Anytime that there's a dark scene and the entire movie's dark, but like,
even when they're in the real world, it's nighttime.
I know, but like anytime there's a dark scene and like the way you convey like scenes and portray them is by using like little amounts of light, that is like one of my favorite things ever, right? It's a lot like when I learned in my audio class, like what we were talking about, when there's silence and then all of a sudden you add just little bits of sound, right? It makes everything pop because you're not used to that, right? And so with Tron Legacy, like this entire movie is dark. And so anytime that there's like any kind of like their fluorescent lights, like I loved and I fell in love with again as I watched it, because I was like, it really helps really portray this scene in an awesome way, right? Because you're not so focused on, the colors of everything, right? Because oftentimes colors get distracting.
I just had a realization. A question I had while I was watching the movie last night was like, why do all of the programs have eyeliner on? Why do they all wear such heavy eyeliner? But now you're talking about lighting. If we're thinking about like real life things, the reason why like ancient Egyptians always wore such heavy eyeliner underneath their eyes was, and like why football players still put eye black on, is to absorb some of the light from the sun. So in such a dark environment that the grid would be, having that whenever there is a bright light, like anyone's freaking umbrella with a giant LED in the middle and you're staring at them, it doesn't hurt as bad.
Yeah. Well, and something I also noticed along those lines is I remember thinking, why is everyone so pale?
No sun.
There's no sun.
It's where the clouds come from.
And I think it's really cool that like there's certain times where you can see like when C.L.U is talking with Sam, or when C.L.U is talking amongst all the other programs, C.L.U is a very tan fellow, right? Versus the programs are very pale. And that's because C.L.U is a direct copy of Kevin Flynn, and Kevin Flynn's a human who's seen the sun, right?
In
like
California.
Like I thought that was a really cool detail that I was like, oh,
it's the little things.
Yeah.
So once again, props to Digital Domain and to the makeup and costume designers.
Yeah. The only thing that I wish they would do differently is give it a little bit of a touch up so that young Flynn and C.L.U don't look so terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, at the time,
That was really. I
it
remember.
looked, it looked really
I
great.
remember my parents talking about how cool that was.
Yeah. Obviously, now it's like I'm watching the Polar Express again.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
getting Uncanny Valley,
We could just hire the kid.
like video game
Disney-
cutscene.
Disney
vibes.
already has like the kid that did the deep fakes for Luke Skywalker. Just run that right through this. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Truthfully, if they were to just touch up the entire movie
Mm-hmm.
and re-release it into
Mhm.
theaters for, I guess, it'd be the 15th anniversary this year. But like, if they wanted to re-release it for like leading up to Tron Ares,
Yeah, they could.
you'd make a lot of money.
You'd make my money.
Yeah.
And then real quick, practical effects versus CGI. I loved, because I remember telling Grace when you're watching the end of line bar scene or club scene, all of that's like practical. Everything in there that's going on, practical effects, right?
Yeah.
Minus the people dying.
And the windows.
Yeah, but it's all practical. And I remember turning to Grace and I'm like, this is why I love older movies that have CGI so much more than the newer ones. Because if Tron Legacy, I mean, we'll see. Well, I guess we'll see with Tron Ares. But if Tron Legacy was made within the last like 4 or 5 years, like past 2020, like that entire scene would have all just been CGI. There would have been probably like 4 actors total. Everybody else would have been CGI'd. Like they wouldn't have had such magnificent and like unique costumes because they could have just CGI like how they do with Spider-Man, right? And these CGI.
They probably would have made like half a set, and
right?
Like extended it,
and they would have used like. Although I think they're really cool that they're using them, like the LED walls.
the volume.
Yeah, like the fact that they built like
could have worked in a volume setting. Yeah.
The fact that they were able to build out this entire set, like I don't know, added a lot more interest in my mind because I was like, these are people actually doing this stuff. Like it's real. I don't know. I thought that was really cool. That's my
leading into end of line club scene. Michael Sheen, perfect casting for his role in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
He did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Say hello to your baker.
Yeah. Good. Great.
Really feels.
Well, and along with that, like you've talked about it a lot, like the music in the movie. Like I have heard you say that probably Tron Legacy is like in your top 5.
Yep.
And I never really paid too much of that until I watched the movie, and I went, wow. Like, and especially in this movie, like its ability to take relatively very, very boring scenes and make them go, oh, this is pretty good. Like when he's going up the elevator and walking into the end of Line Club, he's doing nothing but walking.
Mm-hmm.
But because you've got Daft Punk in there, like pumping out a fat beat, you're like, hoo-hoo. He's walking with style. And of course, Sam Flynn's like, with his strut.
Yeah. And I think it, like, the way that they were able to include Daft Punk as the DJs for the club was so great. Because their whole look worked.
Yeah.
For the world of Tron.
I was really glad they didn't kill them off. Nowadays, Tron Legacy was made now. Daft Punk would have been the first people to get axed.
Well, did you when they announced that they were not necessarily like breaking up, just like ending? Did you see the video that they put out when they made in the video of the announcements? If I'm remembering right, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but like you have them, like they have like some song and they're like walking towards each other, but then in a very like artistic and dramatic fashion, one of them just explodes like into dust, just explodes. It's he's being de-rezzed. It's very similar to the way that worked. It's like you were saying, if it were to be made now for like a comedy thing, they have one of them die in a really dramatic fashion and like the music stops or something. But like having them switch to a more like upbeat, electric beat for the fight scene was great.
Yeah. No, and that was like my favorite thing. Probably my favorite thing about the movie was the music and how much weight it added to those boring scenes. Like when he's riding the bicycle back from Kevin Flynn's house back into town. Like nothing happens. He's just driving.
Mm-hmm. That when he's running from the cops, that motorcycle scene when Son of Flynn is playing behind it.
Yeah,
Literally, that alone makes me want to buy a motorcycle.
absolutely.
But the problem is that if I were to get a motorcycle, it'd be a fast one, and I'd listen to that while I'm driving it. I'd die. So I have to withhold myself and not buy a motorcycle. But I guess just for my last thought on the music is not only is Tron Legacy in my top 5 scores all time, but it is my top 1 favorite thing to listen to when I'm driving at night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No vibe like it.
No, it's true. I listened to it on my way home from work. I may have let the little bug that was tickling my brain, push the back button like probably 4 times on the end of line song, but it's really good. It was awesome. I enjoyed the story.
Good segue.
Yeah, I enjoyed the story very well. This was something that I wanted to make sure I covered because pacing. I actually really enjoyed the pacing on this movie.
We should get you a pacemaker that you should just have with you, and you can. Where'd this fall on Tristan's pacemaker?
That's a good point.
Bad pacing. Heart attack. Crockpot dinner.
No, but it was good. Like the pacing was, dang it, Trevor.
No.
What was I saying?
Pacing.
Pacing. No, like I complain a lot about how movies rush through things. This one, like, again, I compare it to today's standards. Like, I feel like today's movies try so hard to pack so much story. Like, Tron is already crammed because there's so much stuff in there that like is mentioned that never gets an explanation, like the ISOs, right? It gets like 1 or 2 lines, and then you're like, so there's so much in there, right? So I'm so glad, like in this context of pacing, I'm so glad that there was no like showing Sam grow up and learning how to know kung fu.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like most of the things that he does well in the grid, they have like a semblance of like, oh, I can understand. But it was just the fighting skills. I was like, where do you like? I guess he's been to jail a few times. Maybe he learned something. Maybe he has a box, like a homemade.
See,
like,
and I thought that
bag.
same thing, but it just
Punching
like
bag.
it moved so fluidly that there was never like a time where I was like, where I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
We're rushing through this, right? I do think, obviously, all movies are limited by their time frames.
It's like barely a 2-hour movie.
Right. And this one could have for sure used a little bit more. It could have been like, it could, in today's world, Tron Legacy, if I could remake it, I would tell them to make it like a 3-hour Avatar movie, right? Because there's a lot of storytelling in there.
I think at the same time, they mentioned that like the gate, the portal only stays open for 8 hours.
Yeah.
So they did like, given that time frame, they did a really good job of not making it feel rushed. And I'm also
or making it feel like it was so long that you're like, this isn't 8 hours.
And also making it like this would have been a complaint I would have had, just kind of like going with a trope if they had made it like that he had like 10 seconds before the portal closed and they were stuck there forever. But rather like it stays open. That's never a worry for them. They're never stressed. Other than when they're initially talking about it.
In fact, the fact that it stays open is the stress, right? Like, because it's staying open and it's not going to close, they use that very well to to the movie's advantage, right?
Yeah. It's a well-structured story.
Yeah. Well,
obviously it's not like super full, I'd say. Like they do have a lot. They have a lot in there where it's like they're showing off how cool they made it look. to transition from one place to another
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's sick. I don't care.
Oh, and I think like I mentioned this to you once or twice where like I think obviously Disney Plus wasn't a thing at around this time. But had Disney Plus been a thing, like I even now I would love to see more Tron, right? Obviously we'll see where Ares goes,
Yeah.
but Tron is for sure something that they could make a Disney Plus show out of.
They did have a show for it
Yeah,
a long time ago, but
yeah,
it
but
didn't do too well. And they had like a game or two that they had made.
yeah.
Like they wasn't connected to the story at all.
But
Kind of
like
its own thing. And
nowadays,
all
they could for sure
disconnected.
revive it, and I think that it would get a lot of love because they could explore a little more that the movies are kind of limited by, right?
How would you want them to do it?
I
What medium would you want them to take?
actually wrote this down on a note page here. I said, I thought it would be cool to see like maybe like how Flynn, obviously Jeff Bridges is mad old now, but it would be, I think that like the show could be like kind of like a prequel, like an in between, kind of
The
like
first-
how
like
the
like
like-
a how the grid was made,
yeah, kind of like Rogue One was,
like right before it
yeah,
kicks off.
like to show how Flynn made the grid and how he got like how he created the grid from Tron and how he brought Tron over and
Like what happened during the exposition scenes
Yeah,
of Tron. that we
right.
see.
so that we could like because it's awesome. I love watching the scenes where he like puts his hand down and everything like just does what he wants it to do,
Oh, he's like connected to the DNA of the world.
right? So they could
An elevator window.
beep, boop, 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 beep, beep, boop, boop, boop.
Stop. All right, man. You've done enough already.
Man. But
You're
that's
messing with my vibe, man.
But that's what I would have like. I think that would be a cool concept. Obviously, they would have to figure out a way to show young Flynn. Honestly, Disney's got the deep fake guy. They could just do what they did with Luke Skywalker in,
Or do what they did with Harrison Ford in
yeah,
Dial of Destiny.
yeah, and just kind of show that
They've got the technology.
they've got the technology. I think that would do very well as a Disney Plus show. So if anybody out there knows anybody from Disney, there's our 2 cents.
Y'all in Burbank, we're on to you. Invest in the IPs people actually like.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And when you are
Absolutely.
investing in the ones that people actually like, don't make them stupid. They fly now. They fly now.
Somehow, Palpatine returned.
Anyway,
No, but
what's next on your list?
I actually just have a question because this is something that because this new movie is coming out and it makes no sense to me. Like obviously I think they're doing it on purpose. They're releasing very very little to kind of I think that's how they're bringing people back to Tron. Maybe I think
Yeah.
It also might be how they're covering for Jared Leto. But I don't know. Like the way this movie ends, right? Like this is something that me and Grace were talking about last night. Does Flynn destroy the grid? At the very end of the
wouldn't say
movie?
he does. Like just from what you see in that like nuclear explosion that happens, he at least destroys Clue and all of the programs he had converted to go
Right.
to Earth.
And so I'm curious on how far that explosion ran because there's a scene. The only reason why I say that is because there's a throwaway scene that I feel is a very pointless scene to show if Flynn destroys the grid. And that's Tron coming back to being good. Right? When he falls in the sea, he's sinking in the water. It shows him like turn from orange to is it white or is it blue? I pictured it as baby blue.
It's closer to white.
anyways,
But
he,
I don't know. I'm
he changes
colorblind.
colors back, right? Because
Yeah.
he has this moment where he hears like the bird, protect the
Flint,
grid,
oh,
right?
go. Sorry.
Yeah, and then he turns on Clue. Clue takes his speeder. They're called something. They're like Lightcraft, light jet. I don't know. And
Freaking
then
cool thing.
and then he falls in the water, and then he turns good. That seems like a very. You look like you have something.
I just disagree with you so hard. I love that scene a lot. I'm all for like. I mean, I don't know if I'm disagreeing with something. I don't fully understand what you're trying to go,
Well, I'm
get
just
with
saying-
over with me.
I'm just saying that scene feels pointless if the grid is all destroyed.
Well, it's just showing redemption for like once you finally learn when he does the cool move sweeping over and he says, "Tron, what have you become?" And you're like, "Oh my gosh, that's Tron." We thought he died in the
Mhm.
exposition, and he redeems himself. It's honestly, I would assume it's for the people who are fans of the first one to not be freaking angry at Disney for just killing off one of their favorite characters from the first one
That's fair.
in a backstory scene.
That's fair. I don't know. That was just my thing. Because also at the very end, when Sam Flynn is doing all of his mojo with the programs, he takes out that tiny little chip and you see it glow a little bit. It does like a zip, like with its like little blue light, like zip.
Yeah.
Right? Which I interpreted as that's the grid. The grid's in that chip.
In
So-
his USB.
So the is the grid destroyed, or is just that the portal part destroyed? And because if the grid is destroyed and it's no longer a thing, then why is that a point? Why does he make it why is that?
My guess, it's been rebooted. Like wiped clean.
Mhm.
But the grid is still there, but nothing that Kevin Flynn created is there.
Okay.
So like kind of leads like my theory for Tron Ares is that they'll mention that Sam Flynn, because at the end of the movie he takes back NCOM and he probably like exposition probably is that with the help of Cora recreates the grid but without the perfectionist mindset that Kevin Flynn imbued Clue
Mhm.
with. And then that's why the discs are triangular now and why there's deep red colors involved, but like still the same ships because it's an homage or whatever. And that's why I think I am leading with the theory that people have said that the Kevin Flynn that we see in the trailer and here is like a digital recreation, like his consciousness or something
Okay.
that Sam like created to be a part of it as like maybe like a sage character for the people on the grid.
Oh, okay.
Then whatever happens, probably at the beginning of Ares, gets them into the real world.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot more sense. I just was confused by that because of that and because you hear Flynn's voice. I
Yeah.
literally have written down somehow Flynn returned. Like 'cause-
For Ares,
yeah,
yeah,
because I was just confused by that. I was like, I don't know how this fits in.
yeah.
Um,
I'm still like I could be dead wrong. I hope that I'm somewhat right because
just
then it makes a little bit more sense.
I
But
just hope that it's not like a cliche, like he slipped out at the last moment, right?
you see his whole body glow white and
Right.
implode. I would hope
Well, it just makes me.
it would ruin the sacrifice.
Yeah, and I just didn't want. I don't want it to be like. I don't have a specific thing when I say that cliche, but I feel like everybody who's listening, who kind of knows movies, right? Like every time that they make like a reboot / sequel to a movie, they always throw in some like somehow Palpatine returned kind of thing, right? It's just a throwaway comment and it explains like the premise of the movie, but it does it in such a like a generic way that you're like,
Yeah, I
the
think
movie's great, but you could have been a little. I just hope they're original.
I think at worst, it would be something along those kind of lines where Disney felt like Jeff Bridges is the Tron franchise.
Yeah.
He is connected to that thing. And so if he's not in it, is it really Tron?
I guess
and
it
so
could.
they want to include him in some way. It's just a matter of how they're going to do it. Because if they do it, like you're saying, with just some one-off comment, like, didn't really die. Turns out when he exploded, it propelled his body forward and he made it in the portal, but he was passed out for weeks. And Sam never went back in there because he's scared or something.
One thing that I actually just thought of, that because you talking about your theory on like how like him coming through would actually be a little stupid. I would agree. One thing that I thought of is that maybe it's like a situation where he just uploaded his consciousness to like the grid system, right? And going along, like he would be like that sage kind of character, but maybe like I don't know.
Well,
Like,
I think I get what you're saying.
Like he still plays a part. He's more of like I don't want to
like while he's in hiding.
He's more
he
of
does
like
what he did with like Clue.
He's more of like
in
God instead of like physical God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like he did what he did with Clue, where he like recreated himself, but not in the physical sense.
Yeah,
but just like in an ethereal, omnipresent sense.
Because if you think about it, it's just technology. So he could have just uploaded himself somehow.
Yeah,
and that's how like why you hear him and like you see. I think it's Jared Leto's character in the trailer like get created. Like when he comes, he's like laying down. And you see him like cube into existence.
Like you've been cubed.
Like
over to the real world.
I'm gonna morb all over. I'm sorry, but I think that could be like because obviously within whatever this grid is, creation is still happening, right?
Yeah.
So it could just be like another scenario where because he's creating things from the inside and he's not perfecting the program both on the inside and outside, like because all Clue is like it's actually something I thought was really cool. All Clue is a corrupted file, right? Like it's just a file that's
he's a virus.
Yeah, right. And it spreads to literally everything and corrupts it all that it touches, just like a virus does. So because it's not being created in a perfect way, if that's the route they're going with it, that would explain why you see the red now is because it's an even deeper corruption. Because it's like it could just be like a play on colors where like orange is corruption from a perfectionist versus when you're not being a perfectionist and you're just letting things happen as they happen. If that's the way they're going, they obviously things would get more corrupted if you're letting things just act freely.
Yeah.
Right. So that could explain why they're red.
Yeah. My one final theory about it that I'll say before we move on. I hope that this isn't the case, but I know that when they first revealed at D23, like some clips of Tron Ares, and they had like Jared Leto come out and whatever. They showed that like Evan Peters' character in the movie, he's like the head of NCOM, and my hopefully wrong theory about this is that like the way to like the grid, the chip that Sam has somehow ends up in his hands, and he tries to do it himself. He tries to play God, and it goes wrong. They end up in the real world war.
Yeah, I hope this movie does takes a good amount of time in the grid. The one thing that I will say that I'm not excited for, because I mean it's a perfect segue. Just thoughts on the new movie. One thing I'm not excited for, that I really hope they don't do, like I'm not excited for the concept of Tron meets the real world, right? Because the grid is, I don't know, the grid was such a cool like experience. Like the entire day, I was like, I wish I could be in the grid, right? So like to watch Tron come to real life, it'll be kind of cool. It'll be cool to see how things interact, like especially like they show that in the trailer, the light cycles being cut the cop car in half. That'll be cool. But I hope that like that's the final act of the movie.
I doubt it.
I do too.
it seems like that's the selling point, is that it's Tron but real.
Yeah,
kind
and
of a thing.
that's
But who knows?
I would.
They could
I
make
just
it work.
I like the grid. I like that concept. I think that's why I enjoyed this movie so much watching it again. Was that this is like a new take on sci-fi that not a lot of people have done. Like, I mean, I guess Wreck-It Ralph and Ralph Breaks the Internet, right?
Mhm.
But like in a more serious toned movie, this isn't. It's always space.
It's
always
like it's
space.
like a twist. It's like a different. It's like Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
And they made a second one
but it's just
in San Diego.
yeah. Like it just.
Yeah, but
I guess that's exactly my thoughts, right? Like the first Jurassic Park, the Jurassic Parks, all of them are great when they're on the island. When it shows the dinosaurs interacting with people, I'm like,
I guess if this was really happening, it'd be terrifying.
right, like you don't need to show me what happens if a T-Rex comes to San Diego. I can assume what's gonna happen. You know?
Yeah.
I can assume if all of these special, unique light things that kill people instantly and Tron, I can only imagine what they would do to, a real life car.
Yeah.
So that's like, I don't know. That's just how I am.
It's a matter of how involved the grid is. Like
Yeah.
how early do they come to the real world? I would assume it's how transition from Act 1 to Act 2, they make it to the real world. And then Act 2 is everything. Like, I'm going to assume that the laser cut was like, it's like a reaction of the guy on the motorcycle, on the light cycle, and not a fully intentional thing, right? Like, he means to like get him to stop chasing him or whatever, but cutting the car in half was not an intended thing.
Yeah.
I just,
Do you
my
think that-
my highest hope for this movie is that it's not funny.
Yeah.
I don't want this to be.
No, it needs to be a serious tone.
Yeah, I don't want, like, obviously you can make a joke. You got Jeff Bridges in there. He can't not be super like laid back. That's his
the
whole.
Big Lebowski.
That's his jive. That's
Yeah.
what he does.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing in Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
Just making 80s lingo
Mhm.
whole time.
Yeah.
But like, I don't like this has to like there has to be high stakes. There has to
Yeah.
be a satisfying resolution.
Yeah. What do you think happens with Flynn and Cora?
Well, if Sam honors his dad's wishes, Cora is the key to evolution, I guess. That was like, the miracle that they talk about in the movie. They're like complete blank slates. They're not susceptible to all of the things that human beings are susceptible to with like disease and corruption and all of that. Like, you see that, like, rather than Clue try to take these, higher beings almost into his army of programs,
kills them all.
He kills them because they're a threat to him. He can't like corrupt them. So Cora, because she's the last one, incorruptible,
just like a perfect being.
Yeah. So he takes her, for love, but also probably for like science, for research, for the progression of humankind. So are they going to acknowledge that at all?
I hope they don't do like one of those like off where they show like a hand that looks a lot like Sam Flynn's hand as he falls down dead. And he's got like the grid in there and some guy's like, right?
They like shoot him.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take that.
But they never actually show his face. I would love to see
Garrett Hedlund.
Yeah, I'd love to see him and Olivia Wilde, if not be the characters of the movie, because they're not, like,
be a part of it.
Be referenced, right?
I don't want him to be dead.
No.
But I don't know if this canonically takes place 16 years after the first one.
Right.
Or after Tron Legacy.
Right.
Like, I don't know. What's the time jump here?
Yeah.
Clearly, Tron Legacy took place in 2009, 2010.
Right.
So,
do you think that Jared Leto's going to be a bad guy?
I get anti-hero vibes. I get the feeling he's going along with something and then has a redemption kind of thing and isn't
Realizes
necessarily
that it's bad.
Yeah. Becomes good, but like in his own way.
Mm-hmm.
Fight for your own morals, the anti-hero.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jared Leto's ever really played anything other than an anti-hero leaning villain.
Yeah, that's
in
true.
Popular media.
Yeah, it's true. That's just, I mean, that's all I really had.
Even in real life.
Yeah.
Don't break me. Scaling the Empire State Building.
I see morbed all over
New York City. I'm gonna morb all over New York.
I hope, just final thoughts for the new movie. I hope that 9 Inch Nails doesn't have a single song that has vocals. Not just because they're a strange band when they sing.
I doubt it. In all of the times that they've done movie scores, they haven't. And if they do, it'll work.
Yeah.
It'll fit. It'll be if they're going for this like gritty electronic that you hear in the teaser trailer, I think
that's like the only thing, because that's why I feel like the soundtrack, that's why Daft Punk was so good, because Daft Punk they have some songs that have words, but very rarely do they have any words. It's just electronic music, right? So I want that same thing. I feel like it would ruin the vibe of this. Like, it would ruin the entire movie for me if any of the songs have vocals in them, right? It would break the experience for me.
Yeah. I have faith in I shouldn't say I have faith in Snail. But I think they'll make it work. I've liked every other score that they've done that I've seen and heard.
Yeah.
So
that's like my only thing.
Yeah, they're one of like the things that I'm least worried about.
Yeah.
But, I hope this movie appeals to 8-year-old Trevor who dressed up as Tron for Halloween.
Yeah. Well, and I will say that watching Tron Legacy actually got me more excited for like Tron Ares, because like I like Tron and we've talked about it, but I've never been like, oh yeah, like, but you have, right? Watching Tron Legacy again, like, definitely brought out young Tristan, and like young Tristan is very excited for it. Made me way excited for this movie.
It's such a cool IP. Honestly, like a lot of critically, a lot of people didn't like Tron Legacy. There's a lot in the movie that, like, from Oscar standpoint, which, man, if we weren't so late in this episode, I would rant. Tron Legacy wasn't nominated for anything, not one Oscar, not even VFX or original score, and that bugs the crap out of me.
That's a crime.
I mean, like, Inception won the VFX Oscar that year. You can argue that one with me. But it didn't even... Daft Punk didn't even get nominated for score. What a crime!
Yeah.
These guys have more Grammys than anyone at the Academy can even fathom. Anyway, that was 15 years ago. I don't need to be angry.
No, and I really hope rarely movies like this, especially from Disney, rarely get nominated, but this one better if it's good. Yeah. If it sucks, don't give Jared Leto the best supporting actor. Well, best leading actor. My bad. But
unless he deserves it.
That's really my thoughts on Tron Legacy. It was a good movie. Like, genuinely very good. If you haven't seen Tron Legacy in a while, I know that we've been probably talking a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't understand. But what I can say, if you've made it this far into the episode, is that the Tron Legacy is a very good movie to revisit. I know that me and Trevor have been breaking this down.
High rewatchability.
Yeah, we've been breaking this down very technically, but like, just again, like we did with the Minecraft movie, from a very like basic moviegoer experience, it's very good. Like Trevor said, rewatchability up there, like a 10 out of 10.
And high enjoyability.
Yeah.
If you're just watching a movie because you want to watch something that's cool, it's hard to top that one.
Yeah. And again, good movie for the family. Doesn't show anything. In fact, I would say it's probably the best violent movie to show to children, because there's no gore, there's no blood, there's no...
Yeah, if they were the color red, when they, like, when the light cycles, like when they all, like it's like a liquidy.
Yeah.
Like that was red, goriest movie Disney's ever
absolutely.
made.
Absolutely. But there's no like adult innuendos. There's like nothing. Like it's just a movie about
A
life.
son reuniting with his dad.
Yeah.
And wanting to live a life with him.
Yeah. So I would watch it. Like I literally just bought the movie yesterday so that we could watch it. And I will be showing my kids this movie because it's good. But those are my final thoughts. Very awesome movie.
Yep.
Happy that it came out. 15 years later, still hits as hard.
All right. Well, Tristan, where can they find us?
Go ahead and check out all of our links. They're posted in just about everything under a thing called Linktree. But you can check us out on Instagram. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Amazon Music.
Mm-hmm.
We're on iHeartRadio. If anyone from, the 90s is listening, who knows what iHeartRadio is.
Sirius XM.
We
Frame Rate Podcast.
are also on TikTok. Did I already mention Instagram?
Yes.
All right.
We're on Instagram. Did you say that?
We're on TikTok.